Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Rooney and Amorim sees red mist with the United legend Wayne Rooney, player against manager, this time it's ex-player, not again. Also Gary Lineker coming out and sort of blaming Sir Alex Ferguson for Man United's drop-off. We'll talk about that, of course. Also Onana wants to stay for the long term. Great news on a Monday morning, I suppose. And a couple of bits I wanted to talk about as well around this situation at Manchester United and how it was totally preventable and it has to fall squarely on the shoulders of the owners of Manchester United. Because I don't know how everybody else feels this morning, but I've got to be honest, for the first time in years, I actually just feel completely and utterly fed up and angry and just angry, just very frustrated and angry. And I felt like it ever since we got knocked out last night. I cannot believe that we are in a situation where we are having the same conversations again about comebacks and close and unlucky and targets and this, that and the other. And it's so bloody tiresome. It's so obvious that we're going to get worse. It's so obvious that we're worse than we were a year ago. And it's so obvious that it's all bloody spin. And I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. And I don't have the answers. I wish I did. And I don't think we have the answers as a fan base. But I cannot understand why. I don't know what syndrome it is. I mean, I know what Stockholm syndrome is. It's like when you get kidnapped, but then you start to fall in love with your kidnappers. That's not what this is. But there's got to be some sort of syndrome that we as fans are falling into because they're treating us terribly, and I actually think they're getting away with it. That if they offer up something that's positive, United fans will probably start singing INEOS. It's like they are absolutely atrocious, but nobody's doing anything. So I just think, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I have no answers as to how bad this is going to get and why people are putting up with it, but it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But look, let's get into the topics. It is a news show. So Wayne Rooney and Amorim, I mean, this was after I'd finished my match reaction last night, but Wayne Rooney and Amorim had a little bit of not a head-to-head because it was done through the media, of course. Wayne Rooney, after the game, said this. I'll read what he said. He said, look, I think Amorim will get time. It's not a free hit because he'll expect more. But what we're seeing is not good enough, etc. It's been very difficult to come in during the season and have no pre-season, but he has to look to the future and moving forward. He says he's winning the Premier League. How can they compete to get further up the table? I think that's the next step for them. Managers aren't getting that time over the last 10 to 15 years either. You have to be selfish as a manager and say, okay, if I don't do it now, I might not get that time. I think it's a little naive to say they're looking to win the Premier League because from where they are now, they're a long way off. So obviously that was put to Ruben Amorim about him being naive, saying that they're going to win the Premier League. And he said this, I'm not naive. That's why I'm here at 40 years old coaching Manchester United. So certainly a bite back there, certainly a snap back. And I think that, look, I've got to be completely fair here. This is what Amorim said that prompted what Rooney said. He said, the goal is to... This is when we've just been knocked out of the FA Cup as the holders in a tournament we need to win because our season's on its arse. Ruben Amorim said, the goal is to win the Premier League. I don't know how long it's going to take, but that's our goal, and no matter what, we continue forward. I don't want to hear that, actually. I said that... Look, I've got to repeat what I said in the match reaction. I said it was naive. I actually said it was naive before I'd even heard Rooney said it. I said it was naive for a Manchester United manager after we'd been knocked out of the FA Cup when we're in the bottom half of the table to start talking about winning the Premier League. If that had come out from Omar Barada or Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'd call it spin. Now, I don't call it spin from the manager, but I do call it naive. I think it's naive to think that Man United fans want to hear that. Naive doesn't mean that you're not a good manager, mate. It just means it was naive to say our target is to win the Premier League when we are where we are. And most of where we are is not on Ruben Amorim. This is like 10 years in the making. But it's naive to think that Man United fans want to hear about winning the Premier League when we're on our arse. That's where it's naive. It's also naive to think that we're capable of winning the Premier League, I agree. But I don't think it should have been said. I really don't. And I understand why he said it, but I don't think it was ever going to resonate because we are Manchester United. And whilst we are Manchester United in name, The fans aren't responsible for this, and Manchester United fans understand what Manchester United should be. And talking about winning a Premier League when we've just been knocked out of the FA Cup at home to Fulham, it's not to send me to bed last night going, we're going to win the Premier League. Like, I don't actually agree with it. And Amorim, I don't have a problem with him saying it, but I don't think it was going to make United fans feel positive. It's like, basically, it's like getting, publicly dumped by your missus and then telling everybody doing a press statement that you're going to marry Margot Robbie. Like, it's not going to happen, is it? You're Steve from down the road and Carol's dumped you. Like, you're not marrying Margot Robbie. She's not even on the market. So that's what it feels like. You've just been humiliated by somebody that, maybe you should be not being humiliated by. And then you say, don't worry, I'm going to go and win the World Cup. It's like, it's not going to happen. And I think it was quite an irritating thing to come out after the game, if I'm being honest. So I know ex-players aren't helpful. I think the biggest problem with Amorim is he does more interviews than a detective. He's always doing interviews, and therefore he's always being asked questions, and a lot of the questions won't be good, and he has to respond to them. Less is more. I know he's got to do interviews after a game, but this is what happens when you keep getting asked questions. He does too many bloody interviews, and therefore we know the quality of the mainstream media in journalism is shit. So if you do loads of interviews, you're going to get a lot of shit questions, and you're probably going to answer silly questions as well. And I think that talking about the Premier League after a game is silly. And I actually think that what Wayne Rooney said was spot on, in the sense that talking about winning a Premier League with that Man United side or any time in the future is naive. And also, how long is he going to get? You don't get that long in the modern game. So there's already people out there saying Amorim out, so he ain't going to get time to win the Premier League. He isn't. So I think the club is in a mess, like Elliot says, and it will be a theme removing Amorim. I think that will start to happen, mate. I mean, I don't want it to happen, but I don't think I felt this down on a Monday morning for a very long time. I just feel so... I feel like picking the chair up and throwing it through the window, if I'm honest. And that's no way to be. I feel absolutely so fucking angry this morning, really. Because I don't see anything to cling on to. I don't see anything to cling on to at all. And I just think that we get the club we deserve, right? And so many of the themes that I'm hearing this morning are like, I'm not interested. I've seen a story about Victor Osimhen. Again, I've seen stories about formation again. I saw Gary Lineker. I read this actually, that Gary Lineker yesterday on Match of the Day actually was talking about Sir Alex Ferguson being responsible. Now, the brilliant thing about this is it wasn't even the niche, intelligent argument about Sir Alex Ferguson, the horse, the Rock of Gibraltar, and how the Glazers got shares. No, it wasn't in something like niche and intelligent like that. Gary Lineker was basically saying, if you look at the way Jurgen Klopp left the club and you look at the way Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, that this is where it all started to go wrong. So basically saying that Sir Alex Ferguson left a team that wasn't very good, and that's why Man United aren't very good in 2025. Yeah, absolutely incredible, mate. Sir Alex Ferguson left in 2013. It is 2025. So we're blaming Sir Alex Ferguson for leaving a team in 2013 for us being knocked out the cup by Fulham 12 years later, when we've spent over £1.2 billion on players. Are you having a bloody laugh? But this is the mainstream for you, isn't it? How the bloody hell can it be Sir Alex Ferguson's fault that we're shit 12 years later? Come on. I mean, but that's the sort of analysis you get on the FA Cup TV rights main presenter. Absolutely incredible. And don't get me started on Lineker, because you can do a little Google search and see, apparently him and Ed Woodward are neighbours and close friends and go on holiday together. So Ed Woodward is basically, the Glazers have got a statue of Ed Woodward in their garden. So Glazers love Woodward, Woodward's mates with Lineker. I mean, it doesn't, 2 + 2 is 4, isn't it? Let's not talk about the Glazers on Match of the Day. I mean, we've got a presenter on Match of the Day, BBC, who is mates with Woodward, who is mates with the Glazers. So, let's push it onto Sir Alex Ferguson because he left an old team in 2013. I mean, just do your bloody research. Do your bloody research. Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't retiring. He didn't deliberately leave that team and think it was crap. He wasn't retiring. He retired because his wife, her sister had died. That happened quite suddenly, and he felt that he needed to spend time with his wife. He wasn't planning on going. That summer, there was talk of us bringing Ronaldo back. Do your bloody research, Gary. Sir Alex Ferguson left quite quickly because of personal circumstances. He wasn't planning on going, and he didn't leave that team deliberately. He was actually intending to use that team the next season. So blaming Sir Alex for where we are 12 years later, 13 years later is incredible. Absolutely incredible. But you get that. That's your analysis on the mainstream, going out to millions, and millions will be thinking this morning, yeah, Gary Lineker's talking sense. Do your bloody research. Do your research. And in more ways than one. Woodward's mate talking about Sir Alex. Come on. But look, honestly, I'm not just going to throw stones. I'll give you some analysis. The more I look at this, and look, you know, you talk about formation. You've got the bloody, what's his name? I'm not even going to name him, that other idiot on Match of the Day, talking about formations, right? As I said to you yesterday, if we go to a 4-3-3, it didn't work under Ten Hag. So go to a formation that these players are more comfortable with. 4-3-3 didn't work with Ten Hag. Ten Hag got the sack with it 4 months ago. So 4-3-3 didn't work with these players either. Go to a 4-3-3. I can't even put a front three out. Rasmus or Xerxes up front. Who's playing on the right wing? Garnacho had a knock, but maybe he could have started on the left. Who am I playing in the midfield three then? Bruno, Ugarte, and Casemiro. And I'm dropping one of my centre-backs. It doesn't even work. Doesn't even work. And what people don't realise about the formation argument and how ridiculously crap it is that it's flawed for the reasons I've just said, but he needs to change his formation. Why does he need to change his formation? Why are we still talking about this a month later? If I'm doing the United stand right, and I don't know, United aren't doing very well, and somebody says, you know, you need to start talking about Liverpool because they're doing really well. Well, I'm not. Yeah, but if you change it to the Liverpool stand for a few months until United are better, you'll start doing really well. Well, I won't. I don't understand Liverpool. I don't want to talk about Liverpool. I want to talk about Man United. And that may be quite basic as an analogy, but it actually is true. You're asking Amorim to go and do something he doesn't want to do. That's not who he is. So if we're going to have the formation chat, the only conversation is, and we've said it before, is why are INEOS recruiting a manager in November with a very distinctive style of play that very obviously doesn't suit this squad, and then coming out with the fact that we're broke? I mean, the scary truth is they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, do they? That's the scary truth. I agree. And I don't think this is breaking news. I agree. You look at it now and you go, what were they thinking? Did they genuinely just think, he's a good manager, he'll do well? Is that how they look at football? Good manager, he will do well. Like, there's so much more to it than that. Like, if you give Jose Mourinho Pep's job when he goes, they're going to struggle because Jose doesn't play like the way Pep plays. So you're going to have to give him money because Jose always wants money, but you're going to have to give him money to buy his own players. If you haven't got money and you're asking Mourinho to work with Pep's players, it's probably going to go wrong. So why did INEOS look at Man United's squad and go, we've never played this style of football that Amorim plays. Let's just get him in. Let's not bother about players. And that's the problem. People are shouting and screaming at Amorim to change his system. It's not his job to change his system because that's who he is. The frustration should be aimed at the people who went, let's go and get a coach that doesn't suit this squad and then let's not give him any money. That's the incredibly stupid thing that I'm sat here going, what were they thinking? Are they so crap at football analysis? They genuinely thought good manager, crap squad, good squad. Like, that's where it went wrong for me. You said it'll all get worse before it gets better, says Daz. Did you honestly think it would be this bad? Also, do you think Amorim will be given time? Good question, Daz. Thank you very much for your super chat. I think he will be given time because I think we're broke and I don't think we can afford to sack him anyway. So I think he will be given time, yeah. Did I think it would get this bad? No, I didn't. But if I'm being honest, I probably should have done, because there are always warnings from history of mistakes that are made in the present. And this is so... And I remember us discussing this in December. So this is nearly... Well, it is 3 months ago now. I remember saying in December and having this conversation that Amorim reminds me so much of Rangnick, in the sense that he speaks really honestly and he speaks to the fans about what the problems are, and he has a good relationship with the fans. And Rangnick did that. But obviously what happened with Rangnick, the players couldn't play his system. They got gradually worse. The results got gradually worse. But Rangnick kept talking total sense. And I think that is what is happening here. We've brought in somebody that you should be building a club with if you're willing to do the open heart surgery. But the results are getting worse, and we are in a worse position. Look, Ollie got the sack and we were in a worse position with Rangnick in May. Ten Hag's been sacked and we're in a worse position in March. But is the manager, was Rangnick the problem and is Amorim the problem, or is the problem the playing squad and the ownership? And that's where I see very big similarities. I think the only difference between Amorim and Rangnick is that Rangnick was interim and Amorim is permanent. So hopefully we'll see this through properly, because we never should have got rid of Rangnick. I mean, I posed this question before. Where would we be now if after that season with Rangnick as interim head coach, we'd actually given him the job he was meant to be getting, which was director of football? We'd be in a much better position now. We'd have a definitive style of play. We'd have had better recruitment. We'd have been building the club properly. I mean, we had the guy to rebuild the club, and we stabbed him in the back and threw him out to stick with John Murtagh and Richard Arnold. So I think that it has got very, very bad, and it could get worse. Maybe it's naivety on a Monday morning, because you've always got to try and find a positive, but I still hold hope that we can win the Europa League. Logically, we can't, but we can. And what I mean by that is we are capable of winning games. We are capable of holding our own. And we've shown that even under Amorim, against Liverpool, against Arsenal, against Man City. I mean, we didn't lose the game in normal time. We lost it on penalties. But it's going to be difficult. We're not going to win this tournament on, 3 or 4-0 wins. We're going to have to win it on a bit of luck and, by grinding it out. And there's a lot of holes in that team. But if we don't, I think we're staring into oblivion. I think we're in big trouble next season, because United will spin it and talk about, it'll be great next year not having to play European games so we can train all week. But we've been training all week for a few weeks and we've been shit. Like, you can train for a month, look, I could train non-stop all year for a fight against Tyson Fury on Christmas Eve. I'd still get battered inside 3 seconds. It doesn't matter how good you train if you haven't got the talent. And they'll sell it next year as, we feel that with no European football, it's operate. And I think that will sack Amorim, actually, if I'm being honest. I think that's the great thing about having these conversations, is that I think not having Europe next season will probably sack Amorim, because what will happen is we'll have all season we'll have all week to train, because we won't be playing in Europe, and then we'll play at the weekend against Fulham and we'll get beat, and then everyone will go, this manager's shit. He's had all week to train them, and then we've lost to Fulham. But the same problem will still be there. He'll still be training players that aren't good enough, and there's no point training all week if you've got the wrong sets of players. So if he's got 9 new players in the summer and we're training all week and we're not seeing progression, I'd be concerned. But if he gets 4 or 5 new players, it won't be enough. So I think it will be. I think things are going to get worse, certainly. Bart, I wondered how long it would take for somebody to do this. He said Rodri tore his ACL and is back in training. Watch him play a game for City before Luke Shaw plays for United. Club is sinking harder than the Titanic, says Bart. I feel we need to stop calling Garnacho young. I expect maturity from a man with a wife and child. What lesson is bigger to learn from him, says Liam. Well, he is still young, mate. He's 20 years of age, so I disagree with you. I think if we're going to start judging people who are 20 just because they've got a wife and child, I think that's a bit unfair. He's 20 years of age. You learn from years, not things like that. Do you think Ten Hag had... do you think that... Sorry, Sanil. Do you think had Ten Hag been sacked after the FA Cup and Amorim bought in for a full season with a summer window, we would have done better, says Sanil? I mean, it's a hypothetical, mate. It's there's no point being distracted by that. I think we can't change the past. I mean, look, if we're going to play that game, I'll trump card that with this. Would we be in a better position if the Glazers hadn't been saved by INEOS in this weird relationship of shitdom? I'd rather talk about that, because we can't change the fact that they kept Ten Hag. And we can't change the fact that INEOS saved the Glazers, but I'd go... I suppose it's a good point, isn't it? I wake up this morning and I see a lot of people arguing about stuff, and I'm sort of like, I don't need to get involved in that. I don't need to comment on that. I don't need to talk about that. And the reason is not because they're not good conversations. It's because I've seen it all before. Oh, Osman's apparently coming to Man United. Is he really? Give me my coffee. I'm going for a walk. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in winning the Premier League in 5 years. I'm not interested in being linked to Osman. I'm not interested in that, because I've seen it all before, and actually they're all distractors. Everything's just distraction. Everything is. Like, it's stuff we've seen and heard for the last 10 years to distract us from the reality is that the football club is getting worse. And we're going to buy this player. We're going to sell that player. We're going to win that tournament. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. I just think there's just so much distraction out there, and it surprises me how many of our fans are actually happy to swim in the distraction. Like, I'm sort of like, I'm past it. I just can't be arsed anymore with the distraction. I'm like, I'm not falling into those traps. The big thing staring in the face is the club is being run into the ground. It has got no strategy. It hasn't got the right people in charge. I have no confidence in them. They talk the talk and they can't walk the walk. We do not have the right senior leadership team at that football club, and the people making decisions have no track record in football at all. You know, somebody was saying to me today that Omar Barada masterminded the Jack Grealish deal. I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to know. I don't really care, but I don't believe in our management team. I don't believe in the ownership of this football club at all. And I think we've been sold a lie, and I think we've been lied to. And I think when you look at the first year of INEOS, we have been lied to. What they said a year ago hasn't happened. We're getting worse. That's not speculative. We are getting worse under INEOS and the Glazers, not better. We were in a better position this time last year than when we are now, and where we were last year was pretty shit. So things are getting worse. And as I said in the match reaction yesterday, look, INEOS could call a press conference today. They could call a press conference today. They could try and ease the concerns of this fan base. They don't bother. They don't do anything. They just sit back and arrogantly do what they think is best for this football club. But in the absence of any positivity or PR or anything like that, you've got to look at the situation for yourself as an individual and say, what do you think this football club is doing? And all we have in front of us is horrific results on the pitch. Things are certainly getting worse. Statements constantly coming out that we haven't got any money. Everybody else around us is better than us. And I'm not even talking about Arsenal or Liverpool. I'm talking about Fulham and Brighton. Fulham and Brighton are better than us. They're better run clubs with better players. That's where we are at Manchester United at the moment. And I look at United and I go, what is it they're really trying to do? And I think they want 10 years of your life. I think they want you to commit 10 years of your life by trusting them. I think that's their whole soul. That their whole selling point is give us 10 years. There is nothing in their strategy that's going to be improving in 2 or 3 years. Basically 10 years is what they want. And the reason I think they want 10 years is because everything is about regenerating and rebuilding Old Trafford and the area around it. And when that's done, there's a lot of money swashing around to be made for the club and therefore for the owners. And I think that's it. I was listening to somebody the other day, I think it was on Sky Business actually, and they were talking about Man United, and they were like, when you look at the deal that was done between the Glazers and INEOS, what was the angle? And anybody can look at it and come up with an angle, but what was the angle? And when you look at that angle, there must be some business transaction there, because these people aren't great mates. They've not grown up together. They don't socialise together. They are very different people, the Glazers and Sir Jim Radcliffe. They are business people. So business people don't work together on something unless it makes business sense. And the only thing that makes business sense that's going to deliver a lot of money is going to be the regeneration of Old Trafford and the area around it. The Glazers want to retain Manchester United as an asset. INEOS afforded them the chance to do that, and they've got this big golden goose egg there in front of them over the next 10 years. That's the only thing I see. That is the only thing I see, and I think it's the only thing a lot of people see. I do not see a football club that's trying to achieve things on the football pitch. And I also think the best analysis here is there's clearly a money-making exercise going on off the pitch. Obviously, we can all predict where that is. But look at where Man United are on the pitch. We're football fans at the end of the day. Look at where we are on the pitch, because I think sometimes we do get distracted from the business side of things, and they're clearly doing something business-wise to make each other money. But let's look at what we are. We're a football club. Let's have a look at where we are on the football pitch. We're dreadful, right? Look at what Todd Boehly did at Chelsea in the first transfer window that he got. Spend, 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 spend. Look at what INEOS did for Amorim in his first transfer window. Nothing. Next to nothing. And that shows you the ambition. What are they doing in preparation for the summer transfer window? Cutting jobs, talking about PSR, talking about restricted budgets, talking about sell to buy. They are not in this for any other reason than to make money for themselves and make Man United a profitable business from a business point of view. This is not about a relentless sports project. This is about a business. That is what they're doing. And I think that's where some people get lost, because some people will justify the sacking of people because we're broke and we've got to try and turn things around. Last time I checked, football clubs weren't actually about making money. That's not actually what football clubs are about, and I don't know why some of our football fans justify it by going, yeah, but we're losing money, Mark. We've got to make money. You know, football's not about making money. It's never really been about making money. It's one of the oldest messages in football. You don't buy a football club to make money. You buy a football club to lose money. That's what you do. It's football. It's entertainment. It's not actually a business. And unfortunately, and it pains me every moment I think about it, we're one of the few clubs in world football that's got owners who treats us as a business, because business is not football. That's not how it works. It's always been a passion for owners. A lot of owners buy football clubs for status, for passion, because they love football. And unfortunately, we're owned by people who want to run it as a business. And there's very, very few examples of successful football clubs that are run like businesses, and that's where we are. Do you think I would get rid of Amorim in the summer if we don't win the Europa, says Enchanted Angel? Bring in pragmatic coach and build more flexible and active system with 5 signings. Won't work. Fair play, won't work. So basically you would sack Amorim, bring in somebody like Gareth Southgate and try and get some more boring wins that we did 3 years ago under Ollie. Yeah, it won't work, mate. Rooney trying to play out from the back with fullbacks in midfield at Plymouth is naive, idiotic comment, and you shouldn't be encouraging it, says Ardo. Well, I'll encourage what I like, Ardo. I will encourage what I like, and I can't be a hypocrite. I hadn't heard what Rooney'd said. I thought Ruben Amorim, in an interview after the game where the fan base is on its arse and devastated, is hearing a manager talking about the aim is to win the Premier League, and I thought it was naive. I thought it was. Look, we can take the piss out of ex-players, of course we can, but sometimes they hit the target, sometimes they hit the bullseye, and I think Rooney was right. He's asked to go on and talk about Manchester United. He's not asked to go on because he failed at Plymouth and Birmingham City. He made a valid point, and Amorim bit on it. So I think Amorim knows that Rooney made a good point. Rashford, Malaysia, Sancho, Anthony, I don't know what that means, Sheeran. Reece, Malacia, I think you're talking about. Reese, thank you very much for your super chat. You said it will get worse. Done that from Daz. Rodri, we've done as well. Ray, Carl, hope you're doing well this morning. Thanks for your super chat. He says, it now pains me to see our fans celebrating a young kid missing 3 chances in 50 minutes, comparing that as a better performance than other in the team, instead of saying why we can't break down teams. Yeah, look, I've seen all that. I've seen it all. Pratman Dave put his little tweet out, didn't he? I've seen all that. And I respect people who want to sort of get into that. I'm not interested. Not interested. Because I'm not finding a positive from yesterday. I'm not finding positives in being out of the FA Cup and in the bottom half of the league. I know where my focus is, and my focus is on where this club is heading. And I was very happy with Obi Martin and Heaven yesterday, and hopefully they're going to be players for the future. But it's going to be a long road. It's going to be a long road before they're established. And how hindered is their future going to be playing in a team like this? So yeah, we have got some very exciting players, but we're not going to win the league, are we? Let's be honest. We're not going to be doing anything for the next few years just because we've got a few exciting players. They need to be nurtured in an environment that allows them to be nurtured, and I don't see it. I don't see it. So I don't see the point in getting into debates about the future of this team, or why is this happening and why is that happening. We're a very disjointed footballing side from top to bottom. And I understand why people want to talk about it, but I can only be honest with you. I've got absolutely no desire to talk about anything positive about Manchester United at the moment, because I think the club is on its arse and it's going to get worse. And I think we've got a double header against Sociedad and a week on Thursday night. If you think this is bad, imagine how we're going to feel when we're out the Europa League. If we go out the Europa League, it's like there's bigger issues now than the goalkeeper or the striker or who's playing at left wing back. Like these are minor issues, and they'd all be solved by the bigger issue, which is staring us in the face. Thank you very much, Ray. The club is a mess. Actually, a theme. I've had enough. I hate. Oh God, Ryan Lord says I have had enough. I hate Man United, but I love Man United. The only thing that is left is the Europa League, and if we're honest, can we win that? I said we'd win the Europa League in January. I sort of have to die on that hill. But look, yeah. I mean, yeah. Morning, Mark. Could you see a situation where Ruben walks? As I don't think he believed it would be this bad, says Steve. You'd never walk, mate. Why would you walk? Why would you wake up in the morning and go, I'll do INEOS a big favour. I'll do Joel Glazer a big favour. I'll terminate my contract and save them 10 million. I wouldn't be walking anywhere. You wouldn't need to walk. If you've had enough, you don't need to walk. You just start making it untenable, don't you? You don't need to walk. You just make sure you don't breach your contracts, and you make life difficult for them. But I don't think. I can't remember a manager that's ever walked, so he won't walk. No. LeBron James, says Sharon, and Mark, in your opinion, what do you think should happen? If I was Amorim, I would walk. I really don't see the end of this yet, says Tracy. What happens if there is no new signings in the summer? Is it toys out the cot, says Reese. And the levels of scrutiny from all quarters makes this job impossible, says Gogo. The players can't handle it, and there is a lack of on-field leadership. INEOS out. Sanel says, do you think... I've done that about Ten Hag as well. I've got to shout out Declan. This is just something I was meant to do yesterday morning, and it's been a little bit of a half-time bit here, but I was asked to do this, and I'm going to do it. So you know these winner stays on things that people do on TikTok and stuff like that about players and all that. So I know why they've done. I know why you did this, Declan, but because I know what I think Declan's a big Bruno Fernandes fan, and I don't think he was happy about the way Roy Keane spoke about him, and I sort of agreed with Keane last week. So, look, Bruno Fernandes arguably is our best player, and he's not in our top 10 problems, of course. But I still think that there is a conversation about Bruno if the club actually ever got anywhere near the top 4 again. But at the moment, he's clearly one of our best players. But he sent me this list of winner stays on. Now, get ready for this, because it's a bit of a break from the depression of what Man United is at the moment, I suppose. But basically, I get given 2 players, winner stays on. So, winner stays on, Man United players currently at Man United. So, first 2, Onana versus Delo. Delo. Delo stays on. Delo versus De Ligt. De Ligt. De Ligt versus Maguire. De Ligt. De Ligt versus Ugarte. De Ligt. De Ligt versus Mainu. Based on this season, De Ligt. Yeah. De Ligt versus Bruno. Bruno. Bruno versus Garnacho. Yeah, Bruno. Bruno versus Mazraoui. I think at the start of the season I might have said something different, but definitely Bruno. Bruno versus Rasmus. Bruno. Bruno versus Xerxes. Bruno. Bruno versus Ahmad. Ahmad. Yeah, just because he's injured, I'm not going to... No, Ahmad, yeah, Ahmad. Ahmad versus Casemiro. Ahmad. Ahmad versus Rashford. Ahmad. Ahmad versus Anthony. Ahmad. Should we do some more? Ahmad Mount. Ahmad. Ahmad Shaw. Ahmad. Yeah, so that's how I would do it. Yeah, definitely. A few disagreements there. Nicholas says you're talking out your arse. Well, I'm not talking out my arse, mouth. It's my mouth. And maybe you'd like to see my big arse, and maybe that would turn you on, Nicholas. But it's definitely my mouth attached to my head. And guess what? It was asked of me on the United stand, so I've just done it for you there. If you want to go and record yourself on TikTok, Nicholas, go and do it. I wish you all the best with your views. But yeah, I was asked to do it. That was mine. Bit of a break, I suppose, at the end of the day. Talking about current players, though, it's come out this morning that Amorim would like to replace Onana in the summer, but Onana's very happy at Manchester United and he wants to stay. He doesn't see himself anywhere else, which is funny because I see him anywhere else at the moment. I got into a bit of an argument on the watch-along yesterday because people were saying you've got an agenda against Onana, who played okay yesterday. I think I gave him a 6 or a 6.5 on the player ratings. It's not an agenda to constructively make an opinion on a player. Many of you have given up on Rasmus. That's absolutely fine. We had the conversation about Bruno last week. A lot of people have completely lost faith in Delo over the last few weeks. It's fine because it's constructive and it's based on what you're seeing on the pitch. I've given up on Onana. I don't think he's the right goalkeeper. I've seen many goalkeepers play for Manchester United. I've watched many other games at many other clubs, and I think we do limit ourselves to Man United sometimes. By the way, it's just not what you've learnt from your time watching Man United over the years. I watch a lot of Liverpool games. I watch a lot of Arsenal games. I watch a lot of Brighton games. I watch a lot of football. So I can see a player that might be playing in goal for Arsenal and go, yeah, Ramsdale, he ain't it. He isn't going to be it. And when they got Raya, I was like, I understood that. And you got all the British press moaning because it was a British goalkeeper. Oh, why are they bringing Raya in? Why are they bringing Raya in? And I was like, I can see why they're bringing Raya in because he's a better goalkeeper. And he's definitely better with his feet. And lo and behold, it's worked. So you also learn from other clubs in the way they act. And I've seen enough of Onana. I know it's not quite 2 years yet, and I'd love to be proved wrong, but I've seen enough of him. He's not the guy. And he definitely... I mean, there was a point yesterday where Harry Maguire and him go for the same ball, and Onana's sort of like got hold of it, and he's sort of like trying to calm Maguire down, going, don't worry, I've got it. And you can just see in Maguire's face, in front of millions of people, you can see in his face, he's like, what the hell? There is no confidence in that goalkeeper, and I don't have confidence in him either. But a lot of people do, and that's great. And maybe in the future, you will be able to go, we were right. He is the right guy. And I hope you are right, because I want Man United to do well. And spending money replacing him is going to be problematic. But I don't actually think we're going to replace him in the summer, because I don't think we've got the money to do it. There are far more important areas to spend money than the goalkeeper. But we do need another goalkeeper, in my opinion, but how we're going to do that, I don't know. He's only been here 2 years, and we spent 50 million quid on him. So amortisation-wise, his book value, I don't think we'd get back. You'd need to get 30 million this summer for him, and I don't think anybody would give us 30 million. So it's another player that I think we're going to get stuck with for quite a while. But look, of course, I'd like to get another goalkeeper in, but I don't see where the money is going to come for that, really. But no, look, I thought he played thought he played okay last night, but yeah, I don't think he's. I mean, God, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. I mean, we've had Schmeichel, Van der Sar, De Gea, and we're now talking about Onana being a Man United goalkeeper. But where we are at the moment, actually, where Man United are at the moment, depends what you... Look, if Man United's strategy is to be around 6th for the next 3 years, why would you get rid of Onana? We only want to get rid of Onana because we want a De Gea in goal, or we want a Van der Sar in goal, you know, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. If you know you're not going to be in the Champions League and you're not going to be in the race for top 4, you would keep Onana for 2 or 3 years, because ultimately he probably is good enough for you to be around 6th place and, you know, a bit of a cup team. Patrick Lynch says, missed it earlier, but feels like the extent of the ownership's plan was to get Amorim and hope he sorts it out while being hugely restricted. We sack Amorim and it will be the same for the next guy. Patrick, I mean, very good analysis again. And I think that, as I said, I'm so tired of listening and being told about morons on telly or the radio talking about Amorim needing to change it. They won't sit and have the conversation with somebody like us where you go, what would you change it to? What do you mean? Well, you keep talking about changing the system. What would you change it to? Well, 4-3-3. Oh, same 4-3-3 that Ten Hag got sacked with? Yeah. The same one that we were shit with as well? Okay, yeah, okay. And also, why would Amorim change to a system he's never played before? But where I will have a conversation is exactly what Patrick is saying. Why did we bring Amorim in? Not because we shouldn't have brought him in, but we never should have brought him in if we knew we didn't have the money to give him to build the team. You know, if you've got... The best way I can explain this is if you've got a house that's crumbling down and you decide to put a swimming pool in, but then you don't have any water, why would you build a swimming pool? Why would you not get somebody to deal with the house? Because I think Amorim was never going to fix the house. That's not his job. It's not his... Well, it is his job, but you know what I mean? It's not... That's not the job you're getting Amorim in to do. You don't bring Amorim into the team to work with a team that can't play that system. You don't bring Amorim in to work with a team that wants to play a 4-4-3-3. If you bring Amorim in, you've got to give him the players to play his system. I remember the journalist from Sporting who sent us the article back in November. I might actually go and try and find the video. Basically, what they said was, it will take time for Amorim to do well, but if you deliver the players to him, he'll be unstoppable. But the players he needs are very niche. Like, if you are somebody that's going to play 4-3-3, there are loads of right backs out there. There are loads of left backs out there. There are loads of wingers out there. There are loads of midfielders out there. But if you want to play his system, you've got to have specific players that can play the wides, that can play the 10s. You need specialist players to play an Amorim system. And we've got players that aren't specialist players, full stop. So I agree with Patrick. I think what they did is they thought he's a good manager, bad squad. Good manager comes in, bad squad becomes good squad. And that's just so naive. And that's terrifying that we've got owners that actually thought that he's a good manager that's a hipster manager. Let's bring him to Man United. And they never obviously looked at it and went, he's a good hipster manager that plays a certain brand of football that doesn't fit our squad. Let's not do that because it's going to cost a shitload of money to rebuild this squad that we haven't got. Massively naive. Tony Marshall says, some people made online posts with a ticking clock waiting for David's department. Hey, some people have got blood on their hands in relation to their treatment of David De Gea, but look, everybody makes mistakes. I don't think they would be doing the same thing now. I told you so on De Gea is irrelevant. He went and we brought Onana in. I don't have any issue with the people that really wanted to do that because I think they wanted to do it for the right reasons. But as long as they would acknowledge it was a mistake now, I think we can all move on. Hi, Mark from Australia. INEOS could sign a traffic cone for $10 and it would do a better job than Onana, says Kayri. What do you actually think about him staying? I think you've got a player that's on good money, that's probably playing at the biggest club he's ever played at, and doesn't want to leave. Shock, horror. Is Casemiro not doing the same thing? I don't actually have a problem with the player. It's like, I saw a picture this morning about Mason Mount having a reunion with Chelsea players, and some people were getting their knickers in a twist. And I thought, you know what? Mason Mount's allowed a social life. He can't sit at home not going out. He'd be depressed. If he wants to go out with Ben Chilwell and everybody else, he can go out with them. That's not the problem. The problem is, I see him with Chelsea players, and I see him as a Chelsea player, because after 2 years at the club, I still see him as a Chelsea player. I don't actually acknowledge Mason Mount as a Man United player in my mind. I don't associate him as a Man United player because I haven't seen him in a Man United shirt enough. I think of Mason Mount and I see blue. I don't see red, and that is terrifying when you think about what we spent on him and how little he has played. But I don't blame him going out with Chelsea players. So what? At the end of the day, it's just been it's probably been. There's a question for you in the chat. Is he the worst signing we've ever made? Considering I didn't think Alexis Sanchez could be topped because we made him the best paid player in the Premier League and he was absolutely dreadful. But is Mason Mount actually the worst signing we've ever made? £55 million, 1 year left on his contract, 250 grand a week, barely played. Now, some people are saying Anthony, but Anthony scored in his first 3 games. Yes, he cost more, wages were less, and he's probably going to have a resale value. So as much as Anthony, I agree, in some ways you could say we will salvage something from Anthony, and he was available a lot more. I think Mason Mount's got to be considered one of the worst signings in our history, right here, right now, simply because he hasn't played. We've paid him £1 million a month for, what, nearly 20 months? So we've paid him £20 million in wages. And he's barely played. Not forgetting the 55 million we've got to give to Chelsea. So, yeah. I mean, look, I do have sympathy for him. I don't think he wants to be injured, but the mistake is the mistake. I don't blame Mason Mount. I blame the prats who did the deal. Morning, Mark. Could you see a situation... I've done that one from Steve Howard as well. When the media interest dies off, that's when you'll see the real collapse. Unfortunately, we probably need a genuine cycle of irrelevance to recover, says Stuart M. The thing that scares me is that people talk about relegation. They talk about not being in Europe. But you know when something latches onto something and it won't let go? I feel like the Glazers have clamped themselves onto Manchester United and they will not let go. It's almost become that they can't be stupid. Like, they must be aware that we don't like them as fans. And I think it's a stubborn thing where they will not let go of this football club. They're not, there is no relegation. They will not let it go. And also, I think they've got the dollar signs in their eyes. They know that government regeneration project is going to make them money. And it's going to take years for that to come. So they're not going anywhere. They won't go. I just don't... There's the business side. The Glazers aren't going anywhere. There's the football side. We're not going anywhere. And that's a horrible mix, isn't it? I don't see it. I do not see Man United's resurrection as a football club. I cannot see it at all. I just don't. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Fantastic show this morning. I felt sharp. I felt really... I feel... I'll be honest with you. I'd probably say felt so fed up at the start of the show. Probably 9 out of 10 fed up. You've probably brought me down to a 7. I'm not going to pretend I feel great, but it probably brought me down to a 7. So I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning, and obviously, I'll if you're not watching live as well. But I just feel I feel there's nothing to look forward to. We've got some cracking young players. You know, it was great to see Obi yesterday and Heaven, and we have got some cracking young players. But even that depresses me because who's going to nurture them? I've seen what happened with the class of 92, and I saw the players that nurtured them. If you threw Ryan Giggs at 17 on for Man United yesterday, people would be excited, but he wouldn't have the same career. He wouldn't have the same players to develop him. Imagine trying to use Ryan Giggs at 17 in this team. It wouldn't work. He'd have flashes of brilliance, but he wouldn't have the development path. He wouldn't have the players around him. It just wouldn't work. He wouldn't have Cantona chipping him through one-on-one. He wouldn't have Mark Hughes getting on the end of his crosses. He wouldn't have Paul Ince or Roy Keane playing him in. He wouldn't have Dennis Irwin overlapping with him. It doesn't get discussed enough. There are people out there who just think, we've got 17-year-old Obi who's going to cook. And then you go, but who's going to give him the ingredients? There will be moments, there will be development, but will he be the player he can be if he doesn't have the things around him? And I look at what Ryan Giggs had around him, it was incredible, and he became incredible. But if you put Ryan Giggs with Dalot beside him, and, Xerxes and Rasmus and Bruno and Agate, and it's not the same, is it? Would he be able to be the same player? I don't think we provide the platform for young players at this football club, and we don't seem to want to as well. I mean, this whole we don't want Gyökeres because he's 26. If you're going to build around the youth, you've got to bring some experience in, and we don't seem to want to bring experience in, which is strange. Thanks everyone for watching. Steve Howard says, what scares me is this is starting to remind me of Leeds in 2003, who ended up in the Championship due to their owners bankrupting the club. Well, I may be wrong on this, but I don't think we'll ever go bankrupt, Steve. I don't think that will ever happen. But, we'll speak to you a bit later. Take care.